Ready to go? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the April 25th, 2022 meeting of Parks and Shade Commission. And we have a couple items to take care of at the beginning. I'm just going to do the roll call. Ms. Ritter?
Present.
Okay. And Ms. Heron, Edie Heron?
Present.
Okay. And we have Glenn Mandel is the city attorney who is here, who is also going to be assisting with the report of the city arborist. Liz Lingo is not here today. We're going to be present today, so he's going to handle those duties. So we have. Well, let me first ask Ann Womack about the notices, if I may.
Let's see here. The agenda was posted on April 12th and amended on April 18th, reposted the same day, amended April 19th, reposted the same day, and amended April 22nd, reposted the same day. Let's see here. Public notices were posted on March 31st. Published in the Cape Gazette on April 5th. Coast Press on April 13th. And Delaware State News on April 8th. And that is for both of the public notices for the cases today. That's all I have, Chair.
Okay, great. I want to make a note that Katie Downs is with us, so we have 4 people in attendance on the commission. Also, we're going to forego the approval of minutes today because the one that's available, not everybody's present, and we'll wait till a subsequent time to approve them. Okay, and we also have some correspondence, but I'm going to wait until we get into the appeal hearing portion of today's agenda. So I'm going to pass this on to Mr. Mandalis. We're going to go into an executive session, and he can describe that a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is item 5 on the agenda, which indicates executive session for the purpose of discussing the contents of documents excluded from the definition of public record under the Freedom of Information Act as permitted by 29 Del Code, Section 10,004B6. So the chair is going to be taking a motion to go into executive session. Presuming that we get a motion in a second and it's approved, we'll move to the room across the hall. I don't expect it to take a long time. We can do it a couple ways. One is we can say we'll be back at the latest 10:30, and if you want to, and then we'll just cut it off then. And if we need more time, we can go back in after the rest of the meeting.
Okay.
Or we can say we'll take your cell numbers and text you when we're getting ready to come back over, so you don't have to sit here waiting. Whichever you prefer, Chair.
I'll hand it off to Jeff and on your name. But if you want to stay here, or what do you want to do?
It is essential to do the executive session before the session?
We don't have to. That's the way it is. That's the way it's placed on the agenda. But
I would prefer doing it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So why don't we say, why don't we take, Jeff, and if you don't mind, we'll just take your cell numbers and text you so you don't have to sit here, if that's okay. All right. And so if you don't want it to be on the public record and recording, just come up here and give it to me.
We're good now? Okay. I want to, would like to entertain a motion that we end our executive session and return to the regular meeting session, if that's,
I move we return to the regular meeting.
okay. We have a motion.
I second.
Edie seconds it. We're going to vote to return to the meeting today. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think we have a unanimous vote, so now we're back. We're back, okay, so, all right. The first, I'm just gonna, unless there's any time issues, I was just gonna do this in the order of the, order of the agenda, with the first item of new business, which is the, well, this is the one at 36 Delaware. That's you, right? That's not you? That would be you. Okay, well, that'd be great. I'm just going to read this out. We're here to conduct an administrative appeal hearing pursuant to the Comprehensive Tree Ordinance, Chapter 253 of the Municipal Code of the City of Rehoboth Beach. Appeal hearing number 0322-01, requested by Jeff Meredith of Sussex Tree Incorporated, on behalf of Haywood Miller, owner of the property located at 36 Delaware Avenue, pursuant to Section 253-36 of the Municipal Code of the City of Rehoboth Beach, and pertains to the appeal of a denial of a tree removal permit application for one mulberry tree and any determination of a required tree planting or a fee in lieu of mitigation. Okay. And as a result of Ms. Lingo not being here, I'm going to have Mr. Mandalis submit her report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a memorandum from Elizabeth Lingo, City Arborist, dated April 5, 2022, to the Parks and Shade Tree Commission, and it's titled Appeal to the Parks and Shade Tree Commission for 36 Delaware Avenue. The following is the report of the City Arborist with regard to the above referenced appeal, case number 0322-01, that is to be heard before the Commission on Monday, April 25th, 2022. The applicant submitted a tree removal permit application to remove 2 trees on December 13, 2021. On December 15, 2021, the applicant was advised in writing that a planting plan to meet minimum density and 58 inches of mitigation was required to issue the tree permit. The trees proposed for removal are one 58-inch diameter mulberry and one 18-inch diameter oak. There will be no trees remaining on the lot. The applicant has submitted a planting plan, but the plan does not meet mitigation or minimum density sub-requirements. To meet minimum density requirements, the applicant must plant one approved native species of appropriate size in the front yard. The planting plan proposes 24.5 to 22.5 inches of replacement caliper. This leaves the property between 32.5 and 33.5 inches, or approximately, I'm sorry, Margaret, do you?
Yeah.
Was I?
Executive session?
No, we're out of executive session now. We're back in public.
Can I speak to you for a moment?
Yes, I'm going to hold off on the report.
Okay.
We'll pause this application just for a second. So apparently when you went into executive session, the microphones were muted. So let me just make clear, so the record is clear, that we did go into executive session at approximately 10:10. And the purpose of the executive session was for the purpose of discussing the content of documents excluded from the definition of public record under the Freedom of Information Act as permitted by 29 Del Code, Section 10,004 B6. The chairperson did take a motion to that effect, and it was voted on unanimously by all the participating members. And there was a motion to come out of executive session when we came back into the room just a few moments ago.
Okay.
All right,
Was
so
that one muted too, or what?
that one was not muted also. That one I think was
Yeah.
was
Okay, all right.
heard. Okay, so back to the application for 36 Delaware Avenue. I'll start again at the third paragraph. So the applicant has submitted a planting plan, but the plan does not meet mitigation or minimum density sub-requirements. To meet minimum density requirements, the applicant must plant one approved native species or appropriate size in the front yard. The planting plan proposes 24.5 to 25.5 inches of replacement caliper. This leaves the property with between 32.5 and 33.5 inches, or approximately 11 trees short on the mitigation requirements. With the required additional minimum density tree in the front yard, it'll bring the total down to 10 trees. The three species of proposed trees are as follows. One honey locust, a non-native tree with a spreading air canopy. It can reach 50 feet tall and 35 feet wide. 5 green pillar oak. This is a columnar form of the native pin oak. It may reach a height of 50 feet, but it will have a narrow canopy spread of 15 feet at maturity. 1 Summers Tower redbud. This is also a cultivar with a narrower canopy spread and the native. It will grow to a maximum, than the native. It will grow to a maximum of 20 feet tall and 10 feet wide. While it is the recommendation of the city arborist to grant the fee in lieu for 10 trees, there are further considerations that need to be addressed. Minimum densities shall be met by planting the required front yard tree. There are species on the city's approved tree list that will fit in this small shady location adjacent to the larger trees, or to the larger street trees. Other applicants in similar situations have typically planted redbuds and serviceberries. The honey locust should be replaced with a native species of similar size and spread. While they make a great urban and street trees, they are best utilized there rather than in residential yard settings. In order to approve the permit with the above conditions, an amended planting plan must first be submitted and approved. The Parks and Shade Tree Commission has the authority to grant a fee in lieu of mitigation, subject to Section 253-36 Administrative Appeals. 1, fee in lieu of mitigation. A fee in lieu of mitigation may be granted only by the Park and Shade Tree Commission through the appeals process and upon a recommendation from the city arborist. Before granting a fee in lieu of mitigation, the applicant must demonstrate that the replacement of trees on the project site is not a viable option because meeting the requirements of this article would result in undue hardship, that all reasonable alternatives relevant to protection and mitigation have been exhausted, and that granting a fee in lieu of mitigation will not adversely impact the intent and purposes of these regulations. That is the report of the city arborist.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding the arborist report? And obviously, she's not here to entertain questions, but I don't know if there was any points.
I have one question. Has an amended planting plan been submitted?
Not that I'm aware of. It's not part of the packet,
Yeah.
and I presume we would have
It's through
uploaded it.
Bellaterra, Rebecca. In other words, I'm not doing any planning. Bellaterra Landscape Company, apparently, because I've got her name.
Hold up on,
Yeah, but we'll ask that question, but I was just curious. See, I'm just figuring out what we know and what we don't know at this point, yeah. Okay.
I have a question about one of the things that was submitted in our packet. In your report, Mr. Meredith, you said,
I haven't opened it to the public yet, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, but we can answer that question if you want to ask that question.
Okay.
Okay. I was just, if we had any immediate concerns about the arborist report.
right, I think first see if there's questions we can answer up here, if there's stuff that just maybe, stuff relating to the report, and then we're going to turn to Mr. Meredith, and he'll have his time, and you'll ask all the questions that you have for him then.
I have one other question about the arborist report. The paragraph, the 3 species proposed trees are as follows. Those were the 3 species proposed by the applicant, correct? Those aren't.
That's correct.
Correct. That, because one of those is a honey locust, which was then mentioned further down in the arborist report. So those are the 3 species that were proposed by the applicant,
That's the way I understand it, right?
not by the arborist.
Correct.
Correct.
and the arborist,
To go speak in the mic.
the arborist said that they were taking down an oak tree, but in some of the other documentation, it says a Chinese lantern.
Lantern.
Yeah, which is what it is. It was misdiagnosed. It is a Chinese lantern.
Okay.
Okay, we'll clarify that.
That's,
All right, so without further ado, I'm going to
That's what,
open this to the public, and Mr. Meredith is going to hopefully provide information. Did you have an opening statement or anything to make?
The only statement I had,
Meredith, we're trying to be a little bit more formal about these meetings. I know typically we've been a little bit more casual. Can you give your name and
Yeah, I'm
company
sorry,
for-
yeah.
Thanks.
He's a familiar figure, but
Right,
go right ahead.
right.
Yeah,
Jeff Meredith, Sussex Tree, ISA certified arborist.
Thanks.
okay. Proceed.
The large caliper 38-inch mulberry, I'm sure you ladies and gentlemen went and looked at it. If you go around the back of it, the whole exterior of it in the back is rotten toward the fence. So that's why that tree has to come out before something happens.
Well, my question was, I mean, obviously, I was able to view the tree. It's a large presence there.
Yes,
So
it
anyway,
is.
But it wasn't leafed. It didn't look like it was leafed
No,
out at all.
it's probably half alive, to be honest.
Okay,
The rest of it, because of that, the canopy and all, is about half dead. You know, the tree is, but it's because of the wound on the back of that tree. It's just the tree, the camdum layer is rotting away. So, but you can,
I mean, is there any, I guess, opinion that can be rendered relative to the physical aspects of the tree? I mean, in terms of the potential for stuff falling off of it, or where, like, over the
it's
main
very
branches?
potential now as far as falling off.
Okay,
And the way I got it, the house just got bought before I looked at that tree. This was the homeowner that bought it. It was a rental. I'm not sure if it's going to be a rental now. I don't know what their plans are there with that house. But before it was a rental house. So that's pretty much all I know about the property
okay.
on it.
So are you saying the tree is not viable, essentially?
Tree is not viable.
In its current condition, it's only going to deteriorate?
Worse.
There's no way to,
Remediate
okay,
the tree.
that's
Yeah.
my bottom line question.
Yeah.
Okay.
It didn't look good until I walked around the back of it. So, and then we had our problem. But anyway, but yeah, it will not get any better. It'll keep, parts of that tree are going to start falling off.
Okay. Katie, did you have any questions or
no,
about the other tree? Well, and about the other tree.
my question was about which, I didn't go on to the property, so I couldn't tell from where I was standing whether it was actually an oak or a,
Yeah. The one
Chinese
directly back is a mulberry, a red mulberry, the
Right.
big one. The other one, even Liz thought it was an oak, but it's a Chinese lantern is the type
Okay.
of tree it is, and it's not in good health either.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I
you
mean, it's covered with ivy.
Oh, yeah, it's, yeah.
I don't think the tree ordinance really addresses anything about maintaining a tree in order to extend,
Right.
extend its life, but that tree clearly has not
Too
been
far.
maintained in order to do
No.
that. Yeah. So,
Both of them.
yeah.
But the one in the back, that huge 38-inch.
But I mean, I guess part of my question, one of my questions is, they're requesting two trees to come down or one? It's only mentioning
Two.
one.
It's the lantern,
Okay,
Chinese
both of
lantern,
them,
which
okay.
is the smaller,
Okay.
whatever diameter, 16-inch, and the big 38-inch caliper, which is your.
And Liz's statement says there will be no trees remaining on the lot, so no private trees.
Okay,
There are no, when those two come down. Those are the only private trees on that lot.
okay.
Wait, just for my information, looking at the lot, the one covered with ivy is on the left and the other one is on the right.
Directly back, yes.
The one
on the
direct,
right.
the right, one on the right is the one that's damaged? Because I didn't
The
see
one
that.
on the right, did you walk around and look at the back of the tree?
I didn't. I didn't go on.
It looks fine from the front.
Yeah,
You walk around to the tree and go around the back of the tree, it's completely rotten.
okay.
So, I mean, it's caliper, it's bad, let's put it that way. But it has a lot of excessive dead in it, and I thought, why? 'Cause a tree that size, why does it have so much dead in it? And then when I walked around, I found out why. It's rotting. It's probably up about, I'd say, about that high is where the rotten cavity is in that tree. So, and it's been going on for years. It didn't just happen. And the other one is with the ivy on it, what, 16-inch, I believe?
18,
It's
18 says the,
Yeah, don't have my glasses on. But anyway, yeah, it's not in good health either. So when we, it's just a matter of planting trees. And Bellaterra is supposed to, as far as I know, be the one she's gotten hold of to plant.
Okay.
But we don't have
I
an
don't.
updated, amended.
Yeah, I don't have it. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
What, should we
Well,
just
I
push this off until we have an amended plan?
No, I think what Liz is saying is that if it's approved, that she'll need, before she will issue the permit, she'll need the amended planning plan to be submitted and approved by her. She can approve the amended plan based upon whatever decision you make about these two trees.
okay.
well, and it's not only, because what she's saying is, as I read it, is there needs to be one tree planted as a private tree in the front lawn. So they have city trees there already, but that's not what we're speaking of. So we're going to be adding, or a private tree would be added. And she's saying she's supporting their plan, but to not use the honey locust in the plan that they gave us.
Okay.
That she's saying that that's not the appropriate tree among the ones that have been chosen. So from what I saw, she said the planning plan was okay, but substitute. I know it's not totally okay, but I tried to break all this down. The planting plan that they show us on the sketch, and this is part of the diagram that was given to us, so this isn't anything extra, is fine except to substitute something for the honey locust, and she gave several recommendations. In addition, we would have to choose a fee for mitigation for the 10 trees that aren't going to be handled by the caliper inches. And then with that, there needs to be an amended plan submitted to her with that information in it and submitted for approval. So I think, the way I read it, we can go with her recommendation, and that's her recommendation there at the bottom of page 15 of the materials we were sent.
I looked at it.
Yeah, but where it says there's still 10 trees short, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so the mitigation fee would be would be 10 trees. The mitigation fee would be for 10 trees. In addition, they need to plant what they've said, except to substitute for the honey locust, and then put that in a plan and give it to Liz. If we approve, that's what we would approve if we are approving something.
And also that they would plant a small native tree in the front yard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, correct.
Well, my question is, I guess, are we convinced at this point, or that we feel that removal of the tree is the way to go? Or, I mean, it's conceivable that we can wait to talk to Liz. I guess we could table this to go, to talk to her about it if we feel we want to do that.
You could. I mean, I sort of feel as though if Liz felt it was important that she be here for additional testimony, she would have asked that this be pushed off. So I think if you can get to a decision today, you should.
Right.
But if there are unanswered questions that you have and only Liz can answer them, then that is an option.
Well, I guess I mean, I feel the sense that I have, at least. And by the way, did you have any other comments? Because I was just.
No, actually, Liz told me she said they both need to come out. So
okay.
that's why she's one reason she's not here.
Well, anyway,
Besides the wedding.
You can ask if the public wants to speak.
Did you have anything? Did you want to? Okay, got it. Okay, but so anyway, I'm going to close the public session here for now, and then we can discuss. I believe we're leaning towards granting the removal. However, it's coming up with what plan exists, and we think that's the way to go, and then to come up with the amount for the remediation. So I'm just trying to figure out to what extent do we want to progress on this? Do we feel like we can do that, or do you think we need to have Liz here to assist us in that, or at least provide a recommendation, or do we do this in lieu of, or not in lieu of, but rather that we grant it subject to what they come up with or something like, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how to sort of structure this. You know?
So I think Ms. Lingo's recommendation is that you grant the application and issue a fee in lieu of mitigation with the condition that the plan be amended to there be a minimum, so there be a tree in the required tree in the front yard, and that the honey locust would be replaced with a native species of similar size and spread. I think those are the conditions that she put on. So if you go with Liz's recommendation, the only thing that you'd need to condition your motion as she has it in the bottom of her report and figure out what the fee in lieu is going to be.
Okay. And that number is based on 10 trees, right?
Yes, because she said the one would count, because there'd be 11 trees short for the caliper inches. But the new tree in the front yard would act against that to bring it down to 10 trees.
Okay,
So there would be 10 trees in lieu of mitigation
okay.
in this plan. Do we normally, I'm newer on this commission, do we normally approve something without the final plan in front of Liz? She seems to recommend it, that we could go ahead from this
Right, I mean,
paragraph and the bullets.
I think that's kind of where
Okay,
where we're
so
headed.
assuming that we do our part, and then she does the final okay or no okay on the plan as it's submitted,
that for her
that
to hash out.
reflects these categories. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess our question is, do we have a number in mind? I mean, we have sort of had a rule of thumb in the past with regard to number of trees and so forth and so on. I mean, and then that's up to our discretion.
Isn't it 600 per tree?
650,
So
7.
I always reflect back to these minutes. These are the minutes from 2014, and it hasn't changed since then, right? And so here's what the minutes said in 2014. It says, the consensus of the commission members was to adopt its own policy to use the mitigation written in section 253-33 of the proposed tree ordinance. For trees being removed, the quantity of replacement trees shall be 1 if the tree is less than 12 inches caliper. 1 replacement tree is required. 2, if the tree is 12 inches to 24 inches caliper, 2 replacement trees will be required. 3, if the tree is 24 inches to 36 inches caliper, 3 replacement trees will be required. And 4, if the tree is 36 inches or more caliper, 4 replacement trees will be required. The fee in lieu of mitigation would be $500 for each replacement tree. The cap on the fee should be $5,000 for a 5,000 square foot lot and $10,000 for a 10,000 square foot lot.
But that was 2014.
I mean, I think,
I think we've raised it since then in the recent meetings.
and, I mean, and is that somewhat based on some level of market value or something like that, in terms of the price of replacing a tree?
Yeah, I imagine at that time there was a discussion with Liz, and that was kind of market value.
Because I'm feeling, with regard to pretty much all things, you know, in this sort of inflationary times we're living in, that maybe we need to revisit that, you know. So, and I don't know if that's something that we want to get some more advice on, or do we want to just come up with a
Also,
number?
Liz specifically says they owe us 10, Liz says 10 trees.
Right.
So she's,
He's talking
We're
about
talking about
cost per
10.
tree.
I'm talking about cost per
I
tree.
know, but Glenn just said there would, it was the caliper was between 35, that was missing. The caliper that was missing would have fallen into what Glenn just read, I think.
Yeah, so right.
But
So
I would prefer to go with what Liz said, which was 10 trees.
Right.
And I would prefer to go with a number like 600 or 650.
Okay.
Because I think the cost of the city planting the trees anymore is gonna, everything's gone up, so
Yes.
650, do you
Do you have
think,
any advice with
are you
regard to
thinking
that?
higher than that?
I would say for a 2 to 2.5 inch caliper tree, it would probably be more like around probably $700 or $800 to plant it. Planting, does that sound about?
Yeah, it's
Right.
probably about right now.
Yeah.
Plants are getting hard to get, you know that, Kate.
Yeah, exactly. Probably like At least 700, 750, 800.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
You want to, what are you thinking, 800?
Okay, let's go with 800.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, It's, I didn't bring the cost of taking down those trees is more than.
Oh, yes.
Is substantial,
yes.
so if, I mean,
Crane alone, because I'm going to need a crane on that one.
Right.
And in addition, they have the planting plan that the other items that they're,
Right.
that aren't under discussion for mitigation.
Okay. Is that kind of where we're all, we're feeling about that? Okay. Would anybody
think
like to
that's good.
propose
I
a,
have a question.
sure.
You're going to change the fee. I suggest that you do a motion to change that,
Okay,
because it will always revert back to that other fee.
okay.
but
Well, I mean, we haven't, I thought we would make the motion. I mean, we can make the motion and then do we want to break it up or something like that, basically to say
Yeah,
that,
what I'm talking about is the fee in general for
Okay.
each case that goes forward.
okay.
I don't think that we're required to go to that fee.
But aren't you saying that every single time then, if we don't do that, Glenn will need to go back and read the thing he just read, and then we decide if we're moving beyond that or not, each time?
Or I would just go to the minutes of this meeting and this case. But I think maybe more appropriate is handle this case whatever you think is appropriate. And if it's more of a discussion item, maybe put it on next month's agenda to establish a framework for how you deal with fees in lieu of mitigation.
Okay.
Rather than kind of just putting it into this case, then we'll have a more formal discussion about it.
I think
Yes,
that- I think
I
that's
agree.
valuable. We'll do that.
I
Okay.
agree with that.
All right. Okay, so for the purposes of this particular appeal, would someone like to entertain a motion?
Edie, you want to read it? Because I want to include we need to include the conditions
Right?
from Liz's
Sure,
report.
I'll try, I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
I move that can we move that, this is a question before I make it. Can we move that we accept the city arborist recommendation and then outline the bullets? Or how may we do that, Glenn, or not?
I think it's fine that way because then it's already
It's
documented
written,
by, yeah.
that's what I thought,
Yeah,
okay.
good. Because-
Yeah, okay. I move that we accept the recommendation of the city arborist to grant fee in lieu of, for 10 trees, and with the caveats shown on the city arborist report of April 5th, meaning that there will be an additional tree planted in the front yard, that the honey locust on the plan will be substituted to a more native tree, and a permit with the above conditions will be submitted to the city arborist and an amended planting plan. Now, what I didn't say is about the fee.
Right, you could
So-
say I further move that the fee be
Okay.
X for each of
Are
the
we
10
s-
trees.
I further move that the fee be $800 per tree. That's 8 times 10 trees, $8,000.
I second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion about the motion? I'm, the only thing I'm saying that I would want to make clear is that we're doing it for this particular, and in the future, you know, we can certainly establish or study or however we want to, you know, discuss the rate. But I think we're basing it on a limited discussion, but someone I think of a learned people addressing what they consider the market to be, and I think we're basing our decision on that. So I don't think we have to include that in the motion, but that's where we're headed. Okay, so
On discussion, my question is, are we going too high for this specific item? Should it be 750? I'm just asking. This is discussion. My motion still sits, I know.
I mean, I think it's within the realm of reasonable. That's why I would be okay with it.
Of current market value.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, I'll call the vote.
When we do this, Chair, I think perhaps we should start going back to the old process, which was to do individual vote by vote and say the reasons why you're voting, how you're
Right,
voting.
right.
You
Well,
can rely
I was
upon each
going
other's
to call for
reasons.
that, so.
Thanks.
I'm going to vote in favor of this motion. I think taking down two large trees like that is it reduces the canopy, and there wouldn't be any trees left on any private trees left on the lot. So I think requiring at least one large canopy tree, one small tree for the front, and a fee in lieu of mitigation is the fairest and most reasonable way to go. And I regret that the cost is so high, but that is the cost of planting all those trees. So I vote yes.
Okay.
And I I agree with the motion because of basically the facts that have been stated. I can see clearly that the trees that are on the large trees that are on the property are damaged severely, and they do need to be replaced with viable species to actually make a nicer canopy. I appreciate the fact that the homeowner has taken the steps to get a planting plan, but I do feel that it needs to be amended as per city arborist instruction. And I feel that the fee in lieu of mitigation is a reasonable fee due to the cost of tree planting in the current situation, the current climate of costs.
Okay.
I will be voting yes as well, to approve. I think the city arborist has done a magnificent job in outlining the issues, and Mr. Meredith has helped us understand it. I think that the city arborist report was clear, concise, and going with her recommendation is the way to go.
Okay. And I vote aye as well. I think in most cases, we are considerate of trying to the extent we can, keep living trees viable and so forth and so on. But at some point, and obviously we understand that trees do have a life, a useful life and so forth and so on. And I think in the case based on the opinion of a certified arborist and the panel, that I think it probably makes sense for these trees to be removed. And but I want to just mention with regard to the mitigation, the idea of the mitigation is to, in the event that the ordinance basically addresses the replacement of trees on the property to replace the trees that are being removed, but obviously in situations where that really can't be reasonably achieved, we resort to this mitigation, and the mitigation is the idea of it, at least, is to have plantings elsewhere, to replace those trees or the equivalent trees for what's getting cut down elsewhere, and our reason for the rate is that ultimately, that the city will be able to replace these things. But why would we be initiating something where they're getting replaced at a loss, to the city? So that's why we're basically saying, I think the going rate is this, and this is what it ought to be. And I think I'll just mention in my discussion that in the future we plan to address this and maybe come up with some kind of way to, factor this in on appeals such as this. So I think we have a unanimous result here, and I thank you all, and I thank you. Okay. Any other discussion? I don't think we did any, okay, so I thought we move on to the next one, time being of the essence. We have, moving on to appeal hearing number 0322-02, requested by Elliot and Alison Zimmerman, owners of the property located at 305 Sandalwood Street pursuant to Section 235-36 of the Municipal Code of the City of Rehoboth Beach, and pertains to the appeal of a denial of a tree removal permit application of one river birch tree and any determination of a required tree planting. And similar as to before, Mr. Mandelis will read the city arborist report, and then we'll open it up to discussion with the property owner. Okay.
This is a memorandum from Elizabeth Lingo, City Arborist, to the Parks and Shade Tree Commission dated April 6, 2022, in reference to appeal to the Parks and Shade Tree Commission for 305 Sandalwood Street. The following is the report of the City Arborist with regard to the above referenced appeal, case number 0322-02, that is to be heard before the Commission on Monday, April 25th, 2022. The applicant submitted a tree removal permit application to remove one 24-inch diameter river birch tree. There are two additional remaining trees on the lot, one 17-inch diameter river birch and one 9-inch diameter red maple. The three trees were required as part of the new home construction and planted approximately 12 years ago. The trees are all healthy, in excellent condition, and with high vigor and no visible defects. If the tree were to be removed, the 24 inches of mitigation would be met by existing trees, and one new native tree would have to be planted to meet minimum density requirements. The Commission has the sole authority to hear and decide this appeal. Section 253-36, Administrative Appeals. Authority of the Parks and Shade Tree Commission. The Parks and Shade Tree Commission shall have the authority to hear and decide appeals where it is alleged that there is an error in any decision made by the building inspector or an application for tree removal permit or land clearing permit. In exercising its authority, the Parks and Shade Tree Commission may reverse or affirm wholly or in part, or may modify the building inspector's decision. Additionally, the Parks and Shade Tree Commission has the authority to order a fee in lieu of mitigation. And that's the report of the building official, or of the city arborist.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the arborist report before we proceed?
I do. Liz does not seem to be assuming that crepe myrtles or arborvitae are trees. That's correct? They're shrubs?
I think if they're smaller than what's required.
Because she was not
being,
counting.
the caliper is
counting
smaller,
them as
whatever.
trees, okay, because they're.
Yeah, I'm assuming that.
I don't believe that she considers crepe myrtles or arborvitae as trees.
Correct. I'm not correcting you. That's what I presume because of her other.
Of a certain size, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure. And okay, this will come later.
Okay.
Okay. You got anything else? Okay. I'm going to open it up to the public now, and the property owner is here. If you'd state your name and.
Yeah, Elliot Zimmerman, homeowner at 305 Sandalwood Street.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Yep. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with the commission. This, and I assume you've all had our application and the report.
Yeah.
So as evidenced in the report, our primary concern here is one of safety. This tree, if you've had a chance to look at it, it directly overhangs our patio and part of the pool area as well. We rent our home in the summer months. And this particular tree drops a lot of branches and debris and twigs and things like that. In fact, when we first bought the home in 2019, we had to replace the pool liner because a branch fell into the pool. We're more concerned with the safety aspects of it, with families unbeknownst, to what's up above and what that could result in. There's also significant maintenance cost with this tree, although that's secondary, but we've already had it trimmed back significantly once. And if we complete that pattern every year or 2 years, this becomes, unsustainable from a cost management perspective as well. So that's our position with this particular tree. We're happy to replace it, to plant a different tree in another area of the backyard or the front yard or the side to the right of the house has space perhaps for another tree. But that's our, that's a summary of our position and our request.
Okay. I wanted to make one statement. I neglected to mention that we had correspondence related to this, this particular appeal, and I just wanted to note it for the record. I don't think we need to read it. I mean, we have read it.
Has the applicant had a chance to see it? So
don't
let me
believe
read
so.
it then, since he hasn't. It is
Okay.
posted, it
Yes,
is posted to the city website and embedded in the agenda, but just so in case he wants to respond. This is a email from Richard Cooperman to the city secretary. The subject is Administrative Appeal, 305 Sandalwood Street. He says, "Hi, Ann. Ann is the city secretary. We are residents of Rehoboth Beach at 214 Country Club Drive and strongly support the denial of a tree removal permit at 305 Sandalwood Street. Attached, please find our letter with regard to the appeal of the denial of a tree removal permit at 305 Sandalwood Street. We ask that it be circulated to the Rehoboth Beach Parks and Shade Tree Commission for inclusion in their data packet for the upcoming meeting of 25 April 2022. All the best, Richard and Jerry Cooperman." And then the letter is a little bit lengthier. I will go ahead and read that in, though. So it says, "Dear Mr. Markert, who is the chairperson, our backyard directly abuts the 305 Candlewood Street property." It says Candlewood, but I think it means Sandalwood Street property, and we are deeply interested in this appeal. We write to express our hearty support for the Parks and Shade Tree Commission, the Tree Commission, in their denial of a tree removal permit for the river birch tree at 305 Candlewood Street. We also strongly recommend that the Tree Commission firmly affirm this decision of its meeting on April 25th. In support of our position, may we note the following. Reversing the decision would put every Rehoboth backyard tree at risk. The city arborist has inspected the tree and found it to be healthy, in excellent condition, with high vigor and with no visible defects. Clearly, this tree is in good health and presents no significant hazard. It is simply a backyard tree near a pool. Trees drop leaves and twigs and small branches. That is not a reason to move for its removal. We are certain there are large numbers of similarly placed trees across Rehoboth Beach, and reversal of this tree commission ruling would immediately put them in danger. By approval of the appeal, the Tree Commission would affirm a precedent for frivolous removal of mature, healthy trees. Possible reason for asking to remove the tree. The applicants operate their property as a for-profit rental business. Leaf and twig droppings may be a maintenance burden and an ongoing expense to the applicants. We have two similar large river birch trees in our backyard near their pool. 2 years ago, the applicants came to us noting that our tree was dropping leaves in their pool. They requested our approval to trim one of our trees. We granted them approval for a gentle trim back of the overhanging branches. The result was a shockingly brutal cutback, one that greatly disfigured our river birch tree. Privacy. The applicants have a steady stream of rental tenants from early spring through to the fall. Tenant use of the applicant's back pool generates very loud noise from early morning through to evening. This noise greatly interferes with our privacy and backyard usage. The tree in question significantly contributes to the foliage buffer, shielding my wife and I from the tumult next door. Tree canopy deficit. The section of Rehoboth Beach nearby to this property has very few other trees of similar size. Every tree contributing to this depleted canopy is precious and should be preserved. Simply put, it is better to recommend for tenant safety that the applicant just needs to schedule regular arborist tree inspections rather than removal of this healthy tree. Lastly, we want to thank the members of the Tree Commission for their hard work in preserving our urban forest. And it's signed by Richard Cooperman and Jerry Cooperman. So that's the letter. I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to see it. Again, it is posted. If you need a moment to think it through and respond,
I have a couple of comments around it. First of all, appreciate you making me aware of it. I'd like to make a couple of comments. First of all, was not aware of any of those concerns that he has indicated in the letter. Second of all, that it is true that we had his, I didn't know it was a river birch, but we had one of his trees cut back, but only along the line of our property line. So I'm not clear as to, and there was never permission asked because that was over our property line, so I don't believe that to be accurate. Nonetheless, we did give him a heads up that we were going to be doing that. We did tell him in advance of that. So I think his concern about, I don't know what language he used about the disfigurement or whatever term was used around the impact of that cutting back of the tree, of his tree, was only in line with what was on our property line, which is permittable, of course. And I think lastly, my only other comment would be that his concern clearly is not the liability aspects of the tree that overhangs the patio and the pool area. And that's our primary concern.
Gotcha.
Okay.
There's one more that came in today, I guess, and this is an email from Thomas Rudden, and it's dated 305 Sandalwood Appeal. It says, "Hi, Ann, we own 216 Country Club Drive and became aware of an appeal related to a tree removal permit in the corner of the 305 Sandalwood lot that abuts our lot. We support the denial of the tree removal permit. Our main concern with the tree removal is privacy. The house in question is rented for significant periods of the summer, and the tree provides the main noise buffer between our properties. We also understand one issue in the appeal is safety concerns. We wanted to let you know that the tree does not present any safety concerns for us. We appreciate your consideration of our input during the appeal hearing, and feel free to contact us if you have any questions." That's from Tom and Marcy Rudden at 216 Country Club. One thing I'll advise the commission is that the noise concerns that have been raised here, you won't find any place within the tree ordinance whether noise should be considered for removal or not removal. That's just simply not something that's in your purview to take into account. So whether the tree provides buffer for noise or not, that's not something you should rely upon for making a decision here.
If I could just make one other additional comment. We had the understanding that the crepe myrtle in our backyard was effectively it was being recognized as a tree. So I would appreciate some clarification on that particular point, and especially if that's going to have any impact on a decision here in terms of the actual tree count on the property.
Okay, well, I think if it is, we'll so state it, but I don't think so. Anyone have any questions or comments for the?
I have a question about your attachment, your, the drawing that you submitted. And thank you for taking the time to doing that, by the way. Is this to scale?
It is not, and it's noted as not to scale.
Right, that's what I thought. So what exactly are the positions, the markers of the tree in question, the river birch, from the pool? What are the measurements from the property line, from the pool, from, do you
From
have?
the actual tree to the pool, I don't have that available right now.
Okay,
And you're talking about from the base of the tree or from what overhangs the pool? I would not be able to measure that.
right, it would be from the base.
From the base, I do not have that available.
You have an idea, like generally?
Can you guesstimate it?
I'm going to say it's 8 to 10 feet at the most.
Okay. Okay.
Do you have any idea how far it is from the property line?
It's in the back corner, so it's probably only 2 to 3 feet from the property line. In the back left corner, if you will, yeah.
From the side property line, not the back, or,
From the back, I would say it's about 2 feet and maybe 3 feet from the side,
okay.
roughly.
Do you have any comments, Katie? Or?
No, I took a quick site visit, and I could see the location of the tree. Of course, not the pool, but I could see the location of the tree.
I do have one other question, Mr. Zimmerman. Your application indicated a checkbox. Check here if you've included a planting plan to install new trees on the property. Somehow I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And that was checked by,
It
in
was
what you,
checked?
in
Well, I
what you
think,
submitted. There are 2 check boxes, and you would check both of them. Or my copy shows that.
no, I have just, where's the second one? Sorry, is it this list here?
Oops. Excuse me. This is your application. And this side said,
I'm just trying to find the same page that you're
sure.
looking at.
Sometimes hard to orient oneself, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah, I think, so when we said we've included a planting plan, I think we misunderstood that for a diagram of the property.
Oh.
But we would be happy to replace and plant a new tree of the commission's recommendation. Roughly where we feel like there's place for that would be the back right corner or adjacent to the river birch that's on the side yard, would be the places where we feel that we have the space to do that.
Could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat where you were saying?
The back right corner of the backyard, so basically opposite of where the current tree is, but further, there's no patio over there and it's further from the pool. Or on the right side, you'll see there's a river birch already on the side yard. We could put one adjacent to that.
Okay.
I thought it was the one on the right that was the problem. I thought it was the one on the right that was the problem.
No, it's the one in the back that overhangs the patio.
It's on the drawing.
Laura, here's the,
Yeah, I have it on my phone. I did make a site visit, but because of the fence, it was hard to really visualize much. So my site visit was kind of a fail.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I think this is although it's not to scale, this is a pretty fair representation of the layout.
Okay.
And this is this red-ish tree is the one in question. that
Only
we're
it's
talking
more
about.
into the corner.
It's in the back corner, yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm estimating it's a couple feet from the fence line and on either side. And this is, we have chairs and a couch and things like that on this patio that's, you look up and you're directly under these branches, and this particular type of tree just drops a lot on a constant basis.
Well, I'm gonna make a comment. One of the things that we deal with as far as the commission is, I mean, obviously we're here to, to receive an appeal. If you felt, obviously you were denied a permit based from the city arborist, and we're basically here to mitigate or try to get to the bottom of the reason for the difference or whatever. But ordinarily, it's usually if the city arborist did something wrong or misapplied the ordinance and so forth, and obviously in situations where we can really quantify the level of risk with regard to an impending, you can see a tree leaning or that kind of things and stuff like that, and then that's usually what we address. But and often in cases, I don't want to say in all cases, but we're dealing with people who, for whatever reason, have issues, and it sounds like in your case, there are safety concerns because you once had limbs fall and so forth and so on. You obviously had incurred some damage with regard to the pool cover and so forth. But I think that is seen to be kind of the normal situation with trees. I mean, you can't guarantee that, you're not going to have some damage or storm damage and so forth and so on. And obviously the dropping of twigs and leaves and all that kind of stuff is like kind of the natural consequence of having a tree, And so I'm not really seeing the concerns here in terms of being, I'm not seeing like impending risk or I mean, I think you have concerns about it and so forth and so on, but from all that I gather, and I was able to see the tree, it seems healthy, it seems very upright. It's not overarching to the extent that, there's a looming limb or something like that. And so I'm inclined to not, to deny the appeal. That's my thoughts on see what others feel.
Can I add something to those comments, just because I'm looking to the code so section 253:30, subsection 2A, we've talked about them before. These are the 7 reasons that you can allow for an appeal. And the one I think that the chair is talking about, it says the tree is located where it creates or will create a material, safety, or health hazard or nuisance with respect to existing or proposed structures or vehicles or pedestrian routes, and such hazard or nuisance is not innate to or commonly associated with the existence of trees in general. For example, lightning, wet leaves on the ground during rainstorms. So I think that's where you should kind of be focused is if this is creating a safety or health hazard or nuisance with respect to existing or proposed structures or vehicles or pedestrian routes, whether that hazard or nuisance is innate or not innate to or commonly associated with the existence of trees in general.
If I could just comment, I think in particular, what Alison and I are mostly concerned with is the liability and the safety because of this type of tree, right? I think we didn't plant this tree, right? We bought the house as already planted with a pool in the backyard, and this tree drops more debris than any other tree I've seen. And other than the other river birch that's in another portion of the property, we don't have that problem with any of the other trees. And that's why I say we're happy to replace and plant a different type of tree on the property. It could conceivably even be in the same place. We'd like to eliminate the liability and the safety issue. That's paramount for us.
Has anyone actually been injured while the house was rented or anything?
Not that we know of. I assume we would probably know about that.
Yeah.
Not that we know of. And knock on wood, that has not happened yet, right?
This is a tough one for me. I want to say that I also rent my house and have a constant stream of renters in the summer. And I do understand that, you know, you're worried because there are people coming to your house and it's an extra worry, but that's not part of our, I mean, we can't, I sympathize with your problem, but I don't think that that can influence our decision one way or the other. I mean,
I would just say, I have 2 children of my own, and I'm concerned about them as I would be a guest at my home. It's the same concern and risk and liability that I have, right? And it's because of this particular type of tree, and I wish they would not have put a river birch in that particular place, but I can't control that decision from years ago. So that's what we're seeking resolution on.
Any other comments?
It is the nature of river birches to drop small twigs, and that happens constantly. I agree with that. And it is an unfortunate trait of an attractive river birch.
Yeah. And I acknowledge, by the way, it looks like a healthy tree, right? And we've had that assessed as well. That's not at issue here. It's a different kind of issue.
So I guess the question for the commission then is, do the droppings that I think seems to be acknowledged are more common than most trees, does that create a nuisance or a hazard that is not innate or commonly associated with the existence of trees in general? That's really the issue, I think, for you, if you're focused on this number,
Okay.
number 4.
And we had, I would suppose, a similar situation with the ginkgo, where, we had it wasn't twigs, it was odor and fruit and that kind of thing.
Oh, I see.
But in the same token, it wasn't to the level that we felt was
And I would just
warranted.
say twigs, yes, but branches sometimes too. And that was our first welcoming to the home in
Right.
April of 2019 was spending $3,000 on a new pool liner.
Right, well,
So-
but again, I mean, I think for us, we regard trees in the community, but both public and private, to be an asset and an amenity for the city. We have a longstanding value that has been articulated in our comprehensive development plan about having trees in a seaside town is somewhat a rarity, and it's something that we want to promote, and that's why we kind of take this at the level of seriousness that we do. And so, we're reluctant, I think, to grant these things if we feel it's kind of part and parcel of the regular maintenance that a homeowner has to do, not only on their house, but on the trees that they have. And the fact that it's certainly you're contributing to collective value, not only for your property values, but I think the experiences for your guests. I mean, I would think having a shady spot in your yard, even if twigs come down, it's still a benefit. And and for the adjacent neighbors and stuff who have, mentioned it in their comments and so forth. But I mean, I think the real issue for us is, it's a tree, like, our simplistic answer is it's a tree being a tree. And so I'm willing to entertain
There's one other thing that where you are in Country Club Estates, there are so few large trees. It really makes it hard to say we should allow the few larger trees to come out. So that's one point that I'm trying to keep in mind. And this is a hard one for me. I don't know about you guys. Have you decided?
I'd like to bring it, if I could, just raise one more time, like that crepe myrtle that we have. It sounds like maybe it's considered a shrub, maybe it's considered a tree. I'm not sure if that's relevant in this situation, especially since we're offering to replace.
I don't know how that.
According to her report, it doesn't look like that is relevant, because what she's saying is that there's enough caliper.
Yeah, you have enough trees already.
Right, there's enough caliper, but one native tree would need to be planted to meet the minimum density requirements. I'm not sure if that's because there's not enough in the right areas, but it doesn't look as though the crepe myrtle, whether it's counted or not counted, affects it. And again, like you said, you're offering to replace it, so it should
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that would come into effect if we,
If there was
If there wasn't enough remaining.
enough remaining and so forth. So.
Yeah, I think the minimum density is 3 trees, right?
Right.
So when they have 1 maple, 1 river birch, they have crepe myrtle and 3 arborvitae, vitae. I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong. Anyway,
So you're right. So you're right. I mean, it looks like it's the 3 trees, and there'd only be, so the crepe myrtle's not being counted.
something's not being counted.
Right. So
And I had sent Liz an email on Friday, since I knew she wasn't going to be here, and asked her the question, but I think she must have already left, because I got this, I'm out of the office. Because I said, I assume from your report that neither crepe myrtles nor arborvitae are considered trees, is that correct? Or, and she didn't get back to me, so. Because I wasn't sure reading this, because it didn't add up when you added these and then what was being recommended, that not all of these could possibly be trees. It seemed to me, and I didn't understand.
So that must be the case, but again, the applicant's offering to replace it, so it would
Right.
be the same
Then I guess it's
result.
not relevant. Okay.
Okay. I'm prepared to entertain a motion.
Is
You can
is
vote it up
everyone
or
having
down.
second thoughts? Are we, what,
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion, and then that lets us discuss. I move that we deny the application, because this is a tree being a tree, even though it's dirty, even though it's not perhaps what the gentleman would want in his yard, but is a tree being a tree.
You have a second on that?
I second the motion of a tree that it is to deny the application, because it is the nature of trees to drop limbs and branches. I personally live under a number of pine trees and oak trees, and they are constantly dropping branches. And yes, there is an inherent danger to them, and I certainly hope nobody gets injured on your property.
We're not voting yet, we just have the motion. The motion's been made and seconded. Any other you want to have more discussion about it, or? Have we articulated or, we can do that certainly. If we have any more questions.
We too live in a lot with lots and lots and lots of trees, and we have a very vigorous maintenance schedule with tree trimming people who come and get the dead things out. I mean, one of the joys of living in Rehoboth is the canopy, and it's made up of each tree one by one by one by one. So a vigorous maintenance schedule can be an answer, in my view. But I'm only one person.
Can I comment, or? Yeah? Maintenance helps. We trimmed this tree 2 years ago, and it's back more full than it was 2 years ago. It's not sustainable from a cost perspective. It's not. And I totally respect the policy and what the commission is after here, but I feel like we should have some control over what trees we have that from a maintenance and a liability perspective. And in this case, I bought the property with this tree already existing, and now it becomes my liability. I understand the public comment from the neighbors. They don't have the liability concern. I have the liability concern. And I'm more than happy to replace the tree. And I would just ask the commission's consideration around that.
But can I make a comment, even though there's a motion on the? Oh, I'm so sorry, Ann. I think this is a little different from the ginkgo because it's on his property. And I kind of want to give a little bit of, I think a property owner should have some rights that are different than our public trees. I want to protect the canopy, but could we require him to plant a larger tree that would also have a canopy? I mean, could we kind of allow him to solve his problem, but not lose the canopy? And like, it would be expensive. It would be an expensive initial investment, but maybe instead of just mitigating by planting, a little sapling, maybe he should plant a larger tree that would solve his problem and not reduce the and still contribute to the canopy in Country Club Estates. I don't know. It's just an idea that for a way of solving his problem. I don't think the tree should come down. It's a beautiful tree, and we're kind of here to protect trees. But I do think that when it's a property owner should have a little bit more control than just over a public tree. I think we should give it a little more consideration. That's I don't know. I just want to bring that up. If you're all ready to vote, we can vote.
I guess my question would be,
how would we decide?
no, well, I'm just saying, if you make a motion that we agree with and approve, we approve the appeal, and with the condition that a replacement tree is made that will have a mature canopy of such and such and that kind of thing. I mean, it would be specifying something that he very well, be careful what you wish for.
But wouldn't you need a planting plan, which is what the gentleman checked that he said he gave us, and he didn't? I understand it was a
possibility too. If you want to make a proposal,
misunderstanding. I understand it was a misunderstanding on his part, but he says, yes, I've included a planting plan to install, and that's not really what we're looking at. I don't know if that needs to be
if you
considered
wanna
as we
make-
discuss this.
Potentially, if you want to make, if they were to make a proposal of 3 trees, replacement trees, and then make that subject to the approval of the city arborist, I mean, something like that, you know?
Well, how strongly are you feeling that that particular tree needs to stay, I guess? I'm saying I can see some flexibility because it's causing a problem for a homeowner who's trying to do something on his own property and is willing to plant a tree. If we made him plant a sizable tree, are we meeting our obligation and still allowing him to have the tree he wants?
Or, you know, a better tree. I mean, I'd be.
Katie, you look,
The.
no matter what tree, there's going to be branches, as I can hear you saying that.
That's correct, but the availability of trees that are the size where you would get a canopy are very limited unless you go to a specialty nursery and have an enormous tree spade brought in to your home and planted, and then and have the tree planted. There are a few 3 to 3.5 inch caliper trees that are available. But they're very limited. Species is limited. They may not be
Native species.
native species. And the nurseries typically only have a few. So, and, you know, that, just so you know, the
It's not possible.
well, you know, a 3 to 3.5 inch caliper tree would not have a huge canopy like
No, I mean-
an existing tree that has had time, like the river birch. It would be large. It would have a you know, it would have a head start, but the growth, typically the growth of a larger tree matches just about the same with a smaller tree, the amount of growth that you get out of it, like immediately. So you get more vigor out of a smaller tree than you do out of a larger tree.
Okay.
This is a 24-inch caliper we're talking about, too.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
I call the vote.
you're not, you
No,
weren't
I'm
making a
ready to
motion, you were
vote.
just questioning.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. I mean, I think we ought to, I think we're in a position to either vote it up or down, so be prepared to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I reluctantly vote to deny the permit. I just don't see a good solution, because if we let you take your tree down because of the pool, everybody comes in and wants to take down their tree for, you can't believe the safety reasons we're going to hear. And I think the value of that tree outweighs the inconvenience, and I'm sorry that it's an expensive inconvenience. I vote to deny the appeal.
I vote to deny the appeal as well, and, you know, I am sorry that I'm voting that way, but I feel like Laura feels that if we allow one person to take down a tree because it's dropping things into their pool, and then we're going to have numerous cases of people wanting to take trees down because they're dropping things, dropping branches and twigs and things into the pool.
Can I just clarify? This, yes, there is a pool. And the tree overhangs the pool, part of it.
We're in the middle of doing a vote. We'll take your comment. Okay. You finish your
So
comments. Okay.
as Laura, I deny the application that's to remove the tree.
I too deny the appeal to remove the tree. It's a tree being a tree, and as Liz says, healthy, in excellent condition with high vigor and no visible defects. I just would hate to make the decision about it another way, although I feel for you, sir. I vote deny.
And I vote to deny as well. I do sympathize with the situation, but this is the city we live in, and we have this ordinance, and it's there to the extent that we can protect trees. And I understand that the concerns and the challenges you have. I mean, but you do have. You're making income from your property. I think that's commendable, and I think it's something that's commonplace in the city. And I just think that's something you have to. This is one of those things you have to factor in with everything else in that process. If there are situations with safety involved and stuff like that, have a tree service come out and assess a tree and do what you need to do in order to ensure that risk is limited. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. And the maintenance costs involved in maintaining and keeping your patio clean and all that kind of stuff. This is kind of part of the cost of doing business, the way we look at it. I mean, I'm sorry it's unfavorable to you, but we benefit. I mean, I think there's all these things involve a balance between the kind of the community benefit and the personal benefit, and it's something that is constant in any place, and certainly in Rehoboth Beach. So I'm sorry we weren't able to address your concerns. Okay. But thank you. If you had any other things to comment.
I wish there was a way. I like the path it started to go down with respect to at least providing me an option.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, we really.
If it was an expensive option, but
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just saying, we've had other situations where people have a problem and they think they regard the tree as the problem, but removing that tree is not necessarily going to alleviate the problem, and especially if you're going to replace it with something else, it's an unknown, and you don't really know what you're going to deal with. I mean, it might be better, to the extent that this is the devil versus the devil you don't know. So anyway, but thank you. I appreciate you coming.
thank you.
Okay. All right. I don't think we have any other business at this time. I think we'll recommend to Ann to include in our next agenda a discussion with regard to the rate or whatever with regard to the cost with regard to remediation.
We should have an algorithm, kind of, that
Or something, yeah,
gives us to
and certainly charts and graphs.
say.
So, anyway,
Well,
You're in charge of the charts and graphs.
yeah, okay. Any other comments from you all?
Should I move to adjourn?
Otherwise,
Or
I'd
you
take a
can just
motion
gavel.
to
No,
adjourn.
you don't have to, you just gavel.
Oh, okay. If I had a gavel.
Here.
Yeah, I mean. There you go. Yeah, okay.
bang that.
There's a squirt to, anyway, I think we're adjourned, and thank you all for your commitment and service. And thank you Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah,
for
Glenn,
your-
thank
for
you.
your
That was
help and
very
your-
helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. Okay.
All right, y'all
Okay.
have a good rest of your Monday.
Yeah, okay.
Thank
And we got in right under the wire here.
you too.
Right.
Glenn.
Thanks.
Meeting's adjourned.